Hello, Cheryl here, the No Sugar Coach. Welcome to video number 8 of my Feast on Wellness series. Now, one of the people I respect greatly in the field of ketogenic lifestyle is Dr. Ben Bikman. I will tune into anything he has to say at every opportunity. Now, Ben Bikman is a scientist who specializes in studying how our bodies use and store energy, especially how problems with this process can lead to diseases like obesity or type 2 diabetes and dementia. His main focus is actually on something called insulin resistance. Now, insulin resistance happens when the cells in your body stop responding well to insulin. And insulin is a hormone that helps move sugar from your blood into your cells to be used for energy. And when you have insulin resistance, your body has to make more and more insulin to get the same effect. And over time, this can lead to high blood sugar and eventually to type 2 diabetes and many other health complications. So in my notes below, I've provided a link to an article that I wrote on this subject matter, so you can read more about insulin resistance. I suggest that you read that. It's an important thing to know. So Ben Bikman studies why and how insulin resistance happens, what it does to your body, and how things like what you eat, how much you move, and how your fat can affect insulin resistance. So your fat can actually affect insulin resistance. Your fat is actually an organ. So he also looks at ways to prevent or reverse insulin resistance. So basically, Ben Bikman is an expert in how the body's energy system can go wrong, especially with insulin, and how fixing it can help people avoid getting sick. Now, recently I watched an interview with Stephen Bartlett on his YouTube channel called The Diary of a CEO, where Dr. Ben Bikman explained the crucial role of insulin and ketones in fat loss and metabolic health. And here is just one takeaway from that interview that I want to share with you. So that's what this video is about. It's about how chronic high insulin actually blocks fat burning. And Bikman explains that the frequent high carb meals and the sugary snacks that we consume keep insulin levels elevated throughout the whole day. So when insulin is high, the body can't effectively burn fat for fuel. Instead, it remains in a fat storage mode, and the signal to burn fat never actually gets activated. So let me explain it or illustrate it this way with a little story. So this is a fictional character, but anyways, we'll just call her Sarah. Sarah is a 40-year-old office worker, and she wants to lose weight. She's been told that to shed pounds, of course, she should simply eat fewer calories, maybe exercise more. But anyways, so she's decided she's going to cut her calories back by 500 calories. So from 2,000 calories a day to 1,500 calories, and she's expecting to make up the difference, those 500 calories, by burning her own body fat. But Sarah's diet is pretty rich in carbohydrates. She has fat-free milk and cereal and fruit for breakfast. She has a sandwich for lunch, pasta for dinner, and she snacks between each meal, on a little bit of granola here and there. And she has a light dessert of fruit and yogurt after dinner. And this is all low calorie. Now, because she eats so frequently, and her meals are high in carbs, her insulin levels remain elevated throughout the whole day. So here's what's happening inside Sarah's body. Every time Sarah eats carbs, her blood sugar rises and her pancreas releases insulin. And one of insulin's jobs, as I mentioned, is to help move this sugar into her cells for energy and to store excess fat. When insulin is high, it puts the brakes on fat burning. It tells her fat cells to store energy, not release it. So even though Sarah is eating less, her body can't access the fat in her fat stores for fuel because insulin is persistently elevated. So she's expecting her body to burn 2,000 calories per day and make up the 500 calorie difference from her fat stores. But with high insulin, her fat stores are locked away. Her body can only use the 1,500 calories she eats, so it slows down her metabolism to match her intake, making her feel, tired, low energy, don't feel much like exercising. She probably feels a bit cold, and her weight stalls out. She stops losing weight. So why is this happening? Well, here we go again with the insulin, right? When the insulin level rises, it puts the brakes on burning fat for fuel. And it encourages the storage of incoming food, mostly as fat. That's why, as long as the diet is high in carbohydrates, the body never has a chance to burn its own fat. And that's what makes weight loss so difficult. But Sarah learns about how insulin works, and she decides to change her way of eating. So she reduces her carbohydrate intake. She eats less frequently because she's not as hungry. And this allows her insulin levels to drop for much longer periods. So she's not eating in between each meal, and she's not hungry for a snack after dinner. So now with lower insulin, her body can finally unlock her fat stores and burn them for energy, supporting her weight loss efforts. She is happily losing weight. So the key takeaway here is that chronic high insulin caused by frequent high carb meals keeps the body in fat storage mode, and it blocks access to stored fat for energy. Only when insulin drops can the body freely burn its own fat, making sustained weight loss possible. So I know I repeated myself quite a few times in here, but it's just so important to understand the role that high blood sugar and insulin plays in any sort of weight loss effort. So anyway, I'm going to quote Ben Bikman here. He said, the average individual is spending every waking moment in a state of elevated insulin, and thus the signal to burn fat and produce ketones never really goes away because they never give themselves a break. And it's one of the consequences of that is it directly causes insulin resistance. So here's why I support a low carb, keto, and carnivore lifestyle. Studies show that very low carb ketogenic diets can lead to greater longer term weight loss compared to low fat diets, particularly in those who have obesity and insulin resistance or even metabolic syndrome. The diet can significantly improve blood sugar control and insulin sensitivity, making it beneficial for people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. Some studies report that they report reductions in A1C hemoglobin or hemoglobin A1C and a decreased need for diabetes medications. Many people report reduced hunger and appetite on a ketogenic diet, which can help with, sticking to the diet and having better results with weight management. Keto diets may improve cardiovascular risk factors by lowering triglycerides and increasing HDL, which is, the good cholesterol, and reducing blood pressure. Some research suggests a reduction in inflammation and other markers associated with heart disease risk. The keto diet is a well-established treatment for reducing seizures in children and adults with epilepsy. The ketogenic diet is also being studied for potential benefits in other neurological conditions such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. The keto diet also helps reduce visceral fat. That's the fat around your internal organs. You can see that on, people with big bellies, skinny legs, big bellies. That sort of that visceral fat is what's linked to, metabolic diseases. It lowers acne risk by stabilizing blood sugar. So if your blood sugar is, consistently low and steady, your skin actually improves. Early researchers are investigating possible roles in cancer treatment, as well as polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, and brain injury recovery. Fascinating. So I hope that, my little story about Sarah has been helpful, and how, it illustrates why we need to cut down on the sugar and the carbs and avoid snacking in between meals. So to watch the entire interview with Stephen Bartlett and Ben Bikman, just click on the link that I've provided in the notes below. It's worth, I think it's an hour and a half or hour and 20 minutes. It goes into way more details than this, but I think make yourself a cup of tea. It's well worth watching from start to end. Right. So in the meantime, please take a second to give me a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video. And as always, eat well, be kind to yourself, and keep a smile on your face. Bye-bye.